Now in this video, we're going to turn the humble dandelion weed into a wine, or in my case, a money-making opportunity. Hi, I'm Charles and welcome to DIY Fermentation, your site for doing fermentation on a shoestring budget. Now to make our dandelion wine, we are going to need a lot of dandelions. This happens to be about 4 cups of dandelion heads, of which we will need a lot more than this. We need at least 4 quarts, or 4 liters, or 16 cups, depending on how you want to look at it, of dandelion heads. We're going to need anywhere from 3 to 5 cups of sugar. We'll make the adjustment. I'm trying to shoot for a hydrometer reading of 1.080 or thereabouts. This time around, I've decided to use a Red Star Premier Blanc wine yeast, primarily because of the higher AVB tolerance of 13 to 15% plus-ish. We're going to need the zest of 2 oranges. We're also going to need the zest of 1 lemon. We need 1 black tea bag, which is going to supply a little bit of tannin for our dandelion wine. We need a couple of straining bags. We're going to need a gallon or 4 liters of fresh, pure water. We'll need something to do fermentation in, preferably something with a wide mouth opening so we can get our dandelion bags in there. Now, just in case your fermenter does not have a built-in airlock, you'll probably want a standard airlock with bung. Although not absolutely essential, if you have a hydrometer and testing tube, that would be helpful to determine what our AVB, or alcohol by volume, is going to be, and to determine if there's going to be any problems with fermentation. And of course, and probably most importantly, using your sanitizer of choice when we want to make sure that all of our equipment and utensils have been properly cleaned and sanitized. What we want are just the petals. What we don't want are the stems, and we don't want any of the green parts. I would like to seriously point out that this is both time-consuming and tedious. Might as well go ahead and start zesting these oranges and lemons. And now the lemon. We have our gallon of clean filtered water. And let's go ahead and add that to the pot. Let's turn the stove on. And let's bring this up to a boil. Now that we've got all our dandelion petals collected, what we really want to do is get them into some straining bags, because we want to give these things a good rinse. Let's see if there's an easy way of doing this. Of course, it probably would be a little bit easier if the doggone things weren't still half frozen, but we're going to get these out of the bag. And go ahead and add the next one. Okay, that's that. Let's get these tied off and get them ready for a bath. With our water now at a good boil, we're going to go ahead and drop in our dandelion. Let's put the cover back on. And let's turn the heat off. And we're going to let this sit for 2 hours. While we're waiting for our 2 hours for our dandelion infusion to get ready, we're going to go ahead and slice up our oranges and lemons. And no, these are not the same oranges and lemons that I used earlier on. That was like a week ago. So we're just going to go ahead and slice these up. I don't know, 1/4 inch or so. It's no big deal. And when they're sliced, what we want to do is cut around so that we don't incorporate any of that pith that we didn't want to get when we were zesting the doggone things. Well, it's cousins earlier. So just remove the outer skin, and this is the part that we're going to be using. Now, if you run across any seeds, you might want to go ahead and get rid of those, because those will also create the same problem of introducing a layer of bitterness that we really don't want. So go ahead and remove the seeds, and then go ahead and proceed like you did with the oranges. Which, by the way, if there were any seeds in the oranges, get rid of those as well. And now let's get all of this into a straining bag. It's now been 2 hours, and it's now time to go ahead and remove our dandelion petals. Now we want to strain off as much of this as possible. Get as much of that goodness out of these petals as we can. Just go ahead and squeeze out all that juice. And with that having been done, we can now bring this back up to a boil. Turn the heat back on. And to speed the process up a bit, let's put a cover back on. Okay, we're going to add our orange and lemon zest into its own little straining bag. Only because we're going to be taking those out before we take out the orange and lemon slices. So let's just get those into a bag. And let's go ahead and tie that off. Now I've measured off about 2 pounds of sugar, which comes up to roughly 4 quarts or 1 liter. And what we're going to do is that we're going to add about 3 cups to our mixture and let it cool down, take a hydrometer reading, and then make adjustments, add more sugar if necessary to get to our, or my desired hydrometer reading. Well, now that our mixture has come back up to a boil, I'm going to go ahead and add in our zest mixture. Turn the heat back off. Put our lid back on. Nope. We now want to add in our sugar. Of the approximately 2 pounds or 4-ish cups of sugar that we've got, I'm going to add in about, roughly 3 cups worth. Experience has taught me never add in a lot of sugar when you don't know what the hydrometer reading is going to be at the end. But at least while our mixture is still hot, your sugar will dissolve very easily. So let's go ahead and give that a quick little stir. And now we can put our lid back on and let that come down to room temperature. Now that our mixture has come down to room temperature after having let it sit overnight, we now need to transfer it from the pot to the fermenter. Normally I would be doing this over the kitchen sink, but since the kitchen sink is currently not available to me at the moment, I'm going to do it old school. I'm going to try doing it over the desk, hopefully without spilling it. Like that. Okay, we don't need the zest bag any longer, so we can pretty much just leave that where it is. And for the moment, let me go ahead and put my cover back on. Okay, remember that tea bag we talked about earlier? We made a quarter of a cup of really strong black tea, which is acting as our tannin substitute, so we're going to go ahead and add that to the mix. And while we're at it, our lemon and orange slices, we'll go ahead and add that to the mix. And now let's get ready to add the yeast. Okay, after taking the hydrometer reading with only 3 cups of sugar, it looks like we're coming in at 1.072 as our starting gravity. Now then, as per my usual measurements, I'm using 1/4 teaspoon of the yeast. Now again, if you don't have wine yeast, you can use bread yeast. If you want to bloom your yeast, that's entirely up to you. I've always had good results just by sprinkling it on top. Without having this said, let's go ahead and put our cover back on. And let's go ahead and label our creation. Now in labeling our creation, so we know what it is we're making, we are making dandelion wine. We started it on this date, and our original gravity reading was 1.072. Now, for the next 3 days at least, we want to go ahead and give it a nice vigorous stir. We're going to keep the fruit in the straining bag probably for a total of 5 to 7 days during primary. And then we're going to go ahead and remove the fruit, discard it. And depending on the amount of sediment on the bottom, we will probably end up racking it into a 1-gallon carboy. And then we'll do subsequent rackings every, 6 to 8 weeks until the wine has become clear and or the wine is aged enough to the point where it's ready. We're looking at approximately 12 months for this particular wine. Probably give it a little bit more time, but we will have the 12-month tasting at least. Now, of course, if you like what you see here, please click on the subscribe and notify button. Again, you can become a member to help support this channel or become a Patreon to really help support this channel. Most of the equipment that you see me using here, I do have links, Amazon links, and I am also a Brew Demon affiliate if you happen to like this fermenter. Again, it does have its own built-in airlock, so that's why you're not seeing me install one at the top. But again, if you like what you see here, continue to do more of these videos in the future. See you then.